Okay. So getting
So just
into the flow, yeah, of what we're going to be doing today. Check-ins, which we just did, and thank you all for placing that in the chat. Our brief presentation will be, again, very brief introduction to drama therapy, what it is, how it's used. Then we will jump into an experiential portion, which will be the main way we spend our time together. And then we will end with Q&A and reflection. And again, we will be sharing a Google form if you are interested in learning more about drama therapy, or anything piqued your curiosity during the presentation you want to speak to us about. Feel free to use that form.
So we're going to do a quick
Oh,
body check-in. I know there's very
oh
few
yeah.
bodies right now, but we're going to do our best.
Mhm.
So I want everyone just to check in with themselves. And if you're off camera, feel free to do the same thing off camera. If you want to put a visual description into the chat, if you are off camera, that could be really supportive for folks who are on camera in this moment. So you're just going to check in with yourself and think about a pose to show how you're feeling right now. Y'all are probably pros at this. We're in the right room, but just thinking about a pose to show how you're feeling in this exact moment. And if you're comfortable, I'm going to give you a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and we're just going to freeze in that pose. If there's a sound attached, feel free to do a sound. If there's a little bit of movement, I'm not going to yell at you. So do it as much as it's right for you. And we're just going to notice the poses around us and try to pick one that kind of captures us or resonates with you for some reason. So I'm going to do a 3, 2, 1 countdown. So 3, 2, 1, pose. And just notice the other poses in the room. And just pick one that resonates with you. And I'm going to give you a 3, 2, 1. And we're going to switch to the one that feels resonant for you for whatever reason. And you don't have to understand the reason. And I see some emojis in the chat. All right, 3, 2, 1, shift. And we'll do that one more time. So just noticing, seeing if there's any others that feel resonant for you. And if there aren't, go back to your original one. Who's going to know? 3, 2, 1, pose. And there's a tilted head in the chat as well. So that feels resonant. Go ahead and capture that one. Awesome. All right, so let's shake that out and come back together. And we'll dive right into the nerdiness.
Hey, nerdiness. What is drama therapy? Drama therapy is an embodied practice that is active and experiential. This approach can provide the context for participants to tell their stories, set goals, solve problems, express feelings, or achieve catharsis. Through drama, the depth and breadth of inner experience can be actively explored, and interpersonal relationship skills can be enhanced. This is the definition on the North American Drama Therapy Association's website. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Oops, let's see here. Yeah, okay, so.
Cool. So some elements that you may find in a drama therapy space, whether that's individual therapy, group therapy, performance-based therapy, you may have role play. We all know what this is. The way it's used in drama therapy may also be as behavior rehearsal. So either practicing a desired behavior or a behavior that we may be nervous about, or running through a behavior that we would like to change, reinforce, or explore from our past too. Reflection and action, which is instead of just moving through the scene or through the role play, actually stopping and reflecting. Hey, William, I noticed that you just slumped over and you put your hand in your head. It seems like you may be feeling curious in this moment, right? Or, oh, I noticed last time that we did this happened, but this time your body language shifted in a different way, right? So really stopping and kind of using that therapeutic or empathic skill to notice changes, notice differences, notice support levels that might be needed. Projective techniques. So the easiest way to explain projective techniques in 3 seconds is if you've ever seen an ink blot test, those like really stereotypical therapeutic Freudian moments, right? That's a projective device. But for us as creators, and I should share, right, my first career was as a theater educator. I went to CCNY, if any of you are grads as well or alum, right? So anytime we use art as an entry point for devising or drama, anytime we use playwriting, anytime we use music, that's a projective technique. Improv, I'm not even going to waste your time. Witnessing, so stopping and just noticing what's happening and just being present. If you've ever had a friend or loved one that you've told a really hard story to and they've just been there for you and been really present, right? That's the therapeutic benefit of witnessing. Reliving, right? So that might be reliving a really positive moment, using that as a strength building resource. We'll call that in a little bit later today during our experiential. Or reliving a hard moment, right? In my work with sexual violence survivors, a lot of our work is actually going back and reliving the trauma and making peace with it. Emotional joining. So we'll play with that a little bit later today too, but really joining in the emotion someone's experiencing. Role reversal. So if we were, let's say, doing the Scottish play together and you were having a really difficult moment with one of the scenes, we may actually trade roles, right? Lady M and Mr. M may switch roles and feel what it is to be in the other one's position in that moment, right? To get a deeper insight into what their scene partner might be going through. Culminating enactment is just a fancy way of saying like ending performance or ending piece, right? So if I've been working on my trauma around falling off my bicycle when I was 2 years old, perhaps at the end, I may actually do a performance of me healing myself from that trauma and moving through it. So in a culminating enactment, that might even be something like performance at the end of the school year that's devised based on all that the children went through if you're in a classroom, right? Everyone talking about their hardest moment and then creating something all together. Scene work, we know. Let's move it on.
Yeah. So here are the main approaches to drama therapy. I think the most important thing to understand about all of these is that they all utilize different elements and dramatic techniques and tools, and they all look totally different, right? When we say drama therapy, it can look different, and it's very vast. It really depends on how your therapist is trained. And just to name that both Marielle and I are trained in the integrative 5-phase model, developed by Renee Imuna.
And we'll put a little resource guide at the end for those interested. So don't worry about capturing all that down and being like, oh no, I don't know the models. No. Who cares? It's fine. So benefits of integrating drama therapy into theater work as non-therapists. So it creates some shared experiences. So when we're able to kind of step out of the work or step out of the performance a little bit or out of the classroom routine, suddenly we're creating new shared experiences together that are based in humanity and emotion. It increases spontaneity when we're able to work together and explore together and feel safer. We're more comfortable taking risks. Enhancing emotional awareness and communication, and also just validating that those are important in our communities. Increasing emotional intimacy and safety. Deepening our understanding of inner feelings and needs, especially for those of you who are working with the littles, right? I always joke with clients that like we were really taught our kindergarten 5 emotions, happy, sad, angry, mad, scared, and never really given emotional training or knowledge beyond that. Right. So suddenly, oh, I'm raising my own hand. So suddenly when we actually introduce emotions, usually that comes from the theater classroom and not the other classrooms. So it gives space for that too and honors that that's really important. Increasing body awareness and nonverbal communication, especially for your kiddos who their language is not their most comfortable way of expression. In the theater space, that can be really validated and honored. And then expanding our understanding of others' unique perspectives and experiences. We're all coming as whole people. We don't, to quote Audre Lorde, we don't live single issue lives. So really honoring the different ways that we're showing up in the space.
So why are we here, right? Why highlight emotional safety in creative spaces? Not rhetorical. It helps us set a container for trust, spontaneity, and collaboration. It allows for exploration of deeper, more meaningful content. Marielle just kind of went into that a little bit. It also helps validate the emotional vulnerability that comes from taking on character and role, and to really allow us to think intentionally about that process. It also normalizes emotional transference and honors challenges and the beauty of group processing. We are all in a group right now, right? There's probably a lot of stuff. We're creating a sort of soup together. And it's important to acknowledge that and be intentional about it. It also acknowledges that systems of oppression are at play within this field and work, and those intersections don't just disappear within the rehearsal space. Sometimes they're actually amplified, right? Which I'm sure we can all attest to. So these emotional and tense responses are going to be really natural. And then also expectations for the technical part of our work, while also honoring our whole self. We want to, when we enter into an ensemble space, we want to create something that's meaningful and technically sound, but we also want to check in with ourselves. And those processes can happen simultaneously.
And then some like quick baby steps towards building emotional safety. And you may be like, yes, we do some of these already, but just naming them out loud. So establishing an access point person and also modeling access needs and universal design. So really thinking about, is our rehearsal room, is our classroom, is our workshop space really built for every participant without them having to ask for their needs to be met, right? So are there 45 stairs, and are we being clear in advance that if you can't walk up 45 stairs, we really aren't welcoming into this space? Are we thinking about sensory profiles? So thinking about smells and tastes and sounds and the types of lights that we're using. Are we thinking about breaks throughout the time? Are we thinking about folks that may not be able to sit in a chair, right, or stand for the 2-hour rehearsal? And really, the language that we use gatekeeps access or opens a door for access. So thinking about, if I go to a conference and I see that there's an access process, I instantly feel more comfortable registering for that conference because I know they know that word, right? So thinking about how we're setting up a safe enough or safe-ish space. We're never going to create a fully safe space, right? But how our intro language builds a bridge for that or tears it down. Looking at establishing really clear group norms that go beyond just be kind to each other, right? But also have point people for different needs and clear role division. So if I do have conflict, who can I go to? Who should I not go to? Who is reporting to who, right? Even when we talk about the recording, we're going to share with you where that recording is going so that you're fully consenting or not consenting into that for the experiential piece. Are there accountability processes that are really laid out in advance, right? The first day of class or the first day of rehearsal for celebration and harm, because inevitably ruptures and harm may happen and celebration may happen. And are there clear processes for all of those events? Doing repetition through rituals. So making sure that there's clear rituals. We start every rehearsal like this. We end every rehearsal like this. We start every class like this. We end every class like this, because it builds a sense of safety and trust, especially for kids or adults who come from unsafe or unstable backgrounds, knowing that no matter what else happens, when I come into, Alicia's class, the first thing we're going to do is breathe together, right? Suddenly I feel safer entering that space. And then awareness of and sensitivity to environmental factors, sensory needs. I talked a little bit about that, right? But I know there's a few of you in the room who do already work with these populations and this subset, right? This focus. So at this point, we're going to move into an experiential piece. We can record or not record that piece. It's our workshop. We can do whatever we want. So if you are somebody who would prefer not to be recorded during an experiential, can you private message William or I if you're not comfortable calling it out? And even if one person feels even mildly uncomfortable, we're not going to record and we'll stop the recording here. The recording will be shared with everyone who registered for the AET conference, including folks that are not here or the virtual. So from my understanding, it's quite a large group. So we'll just give everybody a second to choose to consent in or out of that. I will say for some of the experiential, we are going to ask you to be on camera unless there's a really important reason why you can't, which we recognize and respect. So just in case that's helpful for the informed consent piece. Okay, so we're going to pause the recording here then.